Hey guys, Dimension Master Studios here. How y'all doing? Welcome to the first video in my Weapons Explained series, the series where I take a look at different weapons from across the Ninjago franchise and I go over their lore, powers and abilities, and other interesting facts about the weapons. And in today's video, we are starting off this series by going over one of my personal favorite sets of weapons when it comes to Ninjago, with that being the Technoblades. Despite the Technoblades only appearing in half of the episodes of Season 3, I personally really like the Technoblades, and in today's video, I'm gonna do my best to explain them to you guys. Let's get into this whole thing. So for starters, let's go over the history of the Technoblades. The Technoblades were made at some point after the events of Season 2, but prior to the events of Season 3, and they were made by Cyrus Borg. We also know why the Technoblades were created. Cyrus Borg created the Technoblades as a result of the Overlord. More specifically, though, Cyrus Borg made the Technoblades after the Overlord's defeat and at some point after the creation of Borg Tower, after Cyrus Borg realized that the Overlord had been transformed into a computer virus and the Overlord virus had started to infect the systems at Borg Tower, and Cyrus Borg made the Technoblades in order to combat the Overlord virus. But not only that, Cyrus Borg created the Technoblades specifically to destroy the Overlord virus once and for all. We also know that Cyrus Borg was successful at giving the Technoblades to the ninja because we saw him do this during the first episode of Season 3. During the first episode of Season 3, Cyrus Borg gave the ninja a golden statue of himself, and inside the golden statue were the Technoblades as well as new suits for the ninja. And after the ninja accidentally destroyed the golden statue, they discovered the Technoblades as well as the new suits, thus kicking off the events of Season 3. So that's a pretty basic history of the Technoblades, with us knowing who created them and why they were created. But now let's go into the powers and the abilities of the Technoblades. Now, when it comes to the Technoblades, we know of two abilities that they have. For starters, like I said earlier, the Technoblades have the ability to destroy the Overlord virus. During the second episode of Season 3, Pixel explains to the ninja why the Technoblades were created, saying that when it comes to the Technoblades, they have the ability to reboot the system and destroy the Overlord virus for good. Meaning that when it comes to the Technoblades, as far as we know, these are the only weapons that are actually capable of destroying the Overlord for good. Granted, the Overlord did need to be trapped inside of a computer system in order for this to happen, but still, the fact that there is a weapon that can actually destroy the Overlord, the embodiment of darkness in the first place, I think is honestly a really big deal when it comes to the franchise. Not only that, but another ability that the Technoblades have is the ability to hack into things. More specifically, though, it seems like when it comes to the Technoblades, they can hack into any piece of technology that has been infected by the Overlord virus. We see this happen multiple times during the first episode of Season 3. This is in fact how all the ninja get their vehicles when it comes to Rebooted. And we see the exact same thing happen again during the second episode of Season 3, where Zane uses his Technoblade in order to purify Pixel from the Overlord influence. We also see the ninja attempt to use the Technoblades when fighting against Mindroid during episode 2, however they are unsuccessful at doing this. But still, those are the main abilities of the Technoblades. They have the ability to completely destroy the Overlord virus, and they can hack into technology that has been corrupted by the Overlord's influence. Up next, I want to talk about the designs of the Technoblades. Now, when it comes to Season 3, we see 4 different Technoblades that are used. Now, technically there is one other Technoblade, but I'm going to talk about that one later on during the video. So for now, let's only take a look at the 4 Technoblades that we see get used during the events of Season 3. Now, when it comes to the Technoblades, we see one that's given to each of the original 4 ninja. And when it comes to each of the Technoblades, we see that the actual blade part of the Technoblades are all the exact same shape, with each of the Technoblades having a gear that is on it and a blade that is facing away from the gear. with the only real difference being the color between the different blades. However, when it comes to the rest of the blades, all of them are completely different, and all of them are seemingly based on different things. When it comes to Kai, his Technoblade appears to be based on a short sword. When it comes to Jay, his Technoblade is based on a chainsaw. When it comes to Cole, his Technoblade is based on nunchucks. And when it comes to Zane, his Technoblade is based on a staff. And this is something that I honestly really like. I really like it when the show ends up giving the ninja all unique weapons to use during it. So I really like that when it comes to Technoblades, all their designs are unique based on the ninja. I think that is honestly something pretty cool. So, what exactly happened to the Technoblades during the events of the show? Well, we know that when it comes to the Technoblades, they were used in episodes 1, 2, 3, and 5 of Rebooted. However, after episode 5, we never saw the Technoblades appear again. During episode 5 of Rebooted, we see the ninja use the Technoblades while they are inside the Digiverse, and while the ninja are inside of the Digiverse, they're able to use the Technoblades to reboot the system, and they're able to seemingly destroy the Overlord virus. However, as we find out at the very end of the episode, the Overlord was able to escape from the Digiverse. However, after episode 5, we never see the ninja use the Technoblades again at any other point during the season. And it's not entirely clear where the Technoblades ended up. Presumably, either the ninja or Cyrus Borg still have the Technoblades. However, like I said, after episode 5, we never see them used, and they're never brought up again at any point in Rebooted after the episode entered the Digiverse. However, that's not all, because there's one other Technoblade that I want to talk about, and it's the Technoblade that we see appear during Day of the Departed. During Day of the Departed, we see that when it comes to all the villains in the Hall of Villainy, all of them have replica weapons that are based on weapons that the ninja either had or were going after during the seasons where they fought against each of the villains. And when it comes to Cryptor, his weapon is a Technoblade. However, when it comes to Cryptor's Technoblade, the design appears to be based on Cole's Technoblade, given the fact that when it comes to both of these Technoblades, they have chains. And I think that's something pretty interesting that when it comes to Cryptor, his Technoblade is based on Cole's Technoblade, because you would imagine that with Cryptor being an evil version of Zane, he would be using a replica of Zane's Technoblade. But again, that's not the case, and instead he's using a replica of Cole's Technoblade. Speaking of replicas though, that's something else that I want to point out. When it comes to Cryptor and his Technoblade, it seems like this Technoblade doesn't actually have any abilities that a regular Technoblade would have. And the reason why I say this is because during the events of Day of the Departed, we never see Cryptor attempt to use his Technoblade to try and hack into Zane at any point during Day of the Departed. He just uses it as a regular weapon. However, I feel like this does make sense because remember, when it comes to the weapons that the villains are using, they are supposed to be replicas of the original weapons. They're not the actual weapons. So Cryptor not being able to hack into Zane makes a lot of sense because again, this isn't an actual Technoblade, it's a replica of one. And when it comes to this replica Technoblade, we see it get destroyed after Zane defeats Cryptor during Day of the Departed. And so that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Like I said towards the beginning of the video, despite the Technoblades only appearing in half of Season 3, I honestly really like the Technoblades. I really like the technological and sci-fi aspect of the Technoblades, and I honestly really like it when Ninjago in general does a sci-fi concept when it comes to the show. So the Technoblades being these sci-fi weapons, I honestly think that's something really cool when it comes to the franchise. And again, despite the Technoblades really only being in half of Season 3, they are honestly some of my favorite weapons when it comes to the franchise. And so that's pretty much all I got for you guys. So tell me down below what do you guys think. Tell me, what do you guys like when it comes to the Technoblades? And also, tell me, what weapons do you guys want to see me cover in future videos? Tell me down below, and I hope you guys enjoy. Later, guys, this is Dimension Master Studios, signing off.